Have you ever dreamed of owning a business, but you felt overwhelmed by the risks? Or maybe you're already in the franchise game, but you're struggling to stand out. Well, buckle up, Buttercup, because today we're going to dive into the world of entrepreneurial and franchise success with a true industry leader.
Welcome to Fortify Live with your host, Ford Saeks.
Now let's welcome our guest, Dwayne Tanner. He's the Vice President of Franchise Development for Belfor Franchise Group. Now, Dwayne's been in the trenches, helping entrepreneurs just like you transform their business ambitions into successful franchisees, being a franchisee, across a wide range of industries. Dwayne, welcome to Fortify Live.
Thank you so much for having me, Fortify.
Well, I appreciate it. So before we get really into this, give me a quick rundown. What exactly is Belfor Franchise Group, and what makes it stand out in the crowded franchise landscape?
Wow, it's a great question. So Belfor Franchise Group, first and foremost, is owned by Belfor Property Restoration Group. They're the world's largest property restoration company with, locations in 30 countries around the world, producing over $2.5 billion in revenue and employing about 10,000 people. And the thing that makes that different for entrepreneurs is we, as a parent company, know the importance of operation. We are the largest and only company that really is from an operating background. So they bring all those resources to the Belfor Franchise Group. And we are a family at Belfor Franchise Group of 15 home services brands that lean heavily on Belfor for relationships and for really building business. Those brands are about 3,500 strong, right? And we too are in about 30 countries around the globe. So we share best practices, we share resources, and we share successes.
And what are some of the more popular of those 15? Just give our listeners a couple of the names. Now, obviously, for the listeners, we're live right now on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and a few other places. And then the audio from this becomes the Business Growth Show podcast. So if you just tuned in, we're listening to Dwayne Tanner. He's the VP of Franchise Development, and you can check out Belfor. I'm going to spell it for the listeners. Belfor, so Belfor, franchisegroup.com. Okay, so what are some of the brands that people would know?
Wow, so the largest of our brand and the oldest is a brand called ChemDry, and they're the world's largest carpet cleaning franchise. The initial franchise that started up this whole thing called Belfor Franchise Group is Ducks, which is a duct cleaning business. One of our faster growing brands is something called Blue Kangaroo Packouts, and if you can imagine, home is sort of damaged through a storm or otherwise, and you turn the house upside down, all the contents that dump out of that house, right? Those are what Blue Kangaroo Packouts sort of manages and protects for consumers. And then one of my favorites is Patch Boys. Something as simple as that, very niche business. We've experienced some explosive growth with that brand as well.
Well, fantastic. Now, your role, just so I know what franchise development is, but what's your role? Like every day when you come to work, what's your main target outcome?
Wow, great question. Main target outcome is to help entrepreneurs realize their dreams and providing them the roadmap to get that done.
Fantastic. And so as we dive into this today, what do you see? And by the way, all of our listeners, he does not know what these questions are. So I'm coming from left field, making stuff up as we go. So, deal with it. But what do you feel is the number one stumbling block that you see tripping up first-time franchise owners? And what's your go-to advice for overcoming it? So what's the biggest challenge? And what do you tell franchisees to help prepare them for success?
Wow, great question. So I'll tell you, so it's most of the people looking to start their own business, right? They've been successful in a lot of things they've done in life, right? And joining a franchise is a little different for some, right? Because they've been independent. So for me, I think the biggest challenge has been one around taking that independent, intelligent person and providing him the structure and him or her accepting that structure and really benefiting from the best of both worlds. So it's a sort of an adaptation on both ends to make certain that you're running down the middle, following a proven course of action, a proven roadmap, and allowing all of the experiences you've had before, right? All the things that led you to that success, channeling that towards what can make you a truly successful, great franchisee for many of the brands.
Yeah, and I've found I've been in the franchise world now and as an entrepreneur my whole life, but the franchise world about 3 decades. And, I've learned that people in business, again, our listeners are some are in franchising, some aren't, but I found that people are strong in one of 3 areas, Dwayne. I'd like to get your take on this. They're either strong in the management, leadership, kind of accounting, operational side, or they're skilled in whatever the product or service is that they're delivering or knowledgeable, or they're focused on marketing and sales. So the 3 buckets of operations, marketing, sales, and delivering the product, let's call it customer experience. But they're never strong in all 3. Now, the reason I'm saying this is with my 17 companies, I found out the hard way that my strength was marketing and sales, and I specialize in local marketing for brands. I wrote a book called Accelerate for local marketing for franchise brands. And I focused on marketing and sales, finding opportunities and closing them and building relationships, and then delivering the product or service. But what I didn't understand was the fiscal responsibility. So, Dwayne, my first business that made $1 million, 50 years ago, I thought I went to my accountant and I said, hey, I'm a millionaire. I sold $1 million. And Dwayne, they said, hold on there, Skippy. You sold $1 million. You're $150,000 in debt. And you took home $15,000 as a salary. Now, this is 1975, right? This is a long time ago. So, I had to learn the hard way that, what's your strength? And I think one of the things, and to segue into the question, is what I really like about franchising is it's a system process, so that you're taking people that you just mentioned. One of the challenges is they have to follow the system, and they have to execute on that system. And that's where I found the most successful franchisees are the ones that really embraced the system. They embraced the brand, they liked the product, and then they actually followed the system. Certainly there could be, a franchise advisory council or franchise marketing council, but they worked in their territories, they followed their systems. And I'm just curious, is that what you found?
Absolutely. So to your first point, I think one of the beauties of franchising is that, as you are strong in just maybe 1 or maybe 2 of those areas, right? The franchisor has strengths that they can help you really employ in that second or third area, really to make sure that you're just hitting on all cylinders. But those, who adapt, who bring their own sort of twist to the franchising world, they are truly very, very successful in all that they do. Absolutely.
All right. So what do you see as one of the biggest challenges? Now, you're in service brands, so it's B2C. It's also B2B because this is the type of services you have, but it's a service brands. And name some, like you're in plumbing and restoration and duct cleaning, and what are some of the other services?
Yeah, so we're going to be working sort of B2B in hoods, which does hood cleaning.
Yep.
We'll do some bug killing, if you will, with our Safer Home Services brand. With Enhance, we're modifying and doing kitchen renovations. We call them the Cabinet Makeover Experts, and that's one of my favorite brands out there. Then we're also doing a lot of work around dumpsters. So we own 2 businesses that deal with that, Redbox Plus Dumpsters, and a brand I'm really excited about that we just purchased last year called Junko Plus. We believe that junk is sexy, and so trash is cash. Through that business, and we're excited about launching that business for us here this year.
Well, those are great ideas and brands, and I want our listeners to realize that Dwayne's coming from a perspective of franchise development. So if you notice, the lesson here is he's not talking about the company or the process. He's talking about the results that it gives, and so that's a great takeaway for everybody. That no matter what you're selling, you're not selling the features. You want to lead with benefits, substantiate the claims with features. So the benefits are, a healthy, happy home, not, okay, we're going to clean your ducts, right? So I'm going to segue into building a rock star team. So now let's say that someone's got their franchise, or they're just starting out. And one of the biggest challenges I've seen is it's either local marketing or it's staffing, right? Or, especially with the wages across the country and everything else. So what instructions or what ideas do you have so let me rephrase the question. So it's more about how do you help a new franchisee understand that, it's not just about having the money to buy the franchise. You still have to lead and develop and build a rock star team.
Yeah, so it is becoming, a little more difficult to find just the right people, right? With everything that's going on in this crazy world of ours. But we really want to help our franchisees focus on finding the right employees, that first employee, right? And we spend a lot of time on some of our brands doing those very things. And the challenge is that there are really two different pieces that you're looking for, right? There's a technical aspect, right? Can I clean a hood? Can I patch a hole in the wall? And that's very important, right? There's a skill set to do that. And we'll train both the franchisee and key technicians on how to do those things. But I think the second and probably more important piece of really finding the right people is around values. Man, so that first person, they are becoming basically you for the most part in the field, in the operation. So it's important that we help them understand what the values need to be of that candidate, right? But they're going to be making sure that that van when it arrives emblazoned with our logo looks good. They're going to make sure they do little things inside the house, right? So that customer doesn't just go, that was a decent experience. But they say that was a wow experience with that particular brand. And if you can find someone who has a technical expertise and who also aligns with you from a value perspective, and he or she sees the bigger picture, right? This isn't about just this one location, this one truck, this one job. It's about what we're building over time. And it gets to be really good. It really does.
Well, I certainly would echo those sentiments too. When you think about looking at prospects, so I just did a full day workshop for a brand for their franchise development people, right? So it was actually Dine Brands. They own IHOP, the IHOP Fuzzy's Tacos, and gosh, the third one's slipping. I better figure this out. Fuzzy's Tacos, IHOP, and Applebee's. Okay, so Dine Brands is another big group like Belfor, not as big as Belfor, of course, but they did franchise development. It was interesting because during that training, and I'm not talking about anything confidential, for their particular brand or anything, but it was interesting to hear the perspectives of their team as it relates to business development. So some of the things they said was like, oh, the market's saturated. They gave me all the negative reasons why someone wouldn't buy a franchise. And so as it relates to the Belfor Franchise Group, two-part question. What do you see? So do you have a team? Like, you're the VP of franchise development. Your team obviously has people that are in business development for each brand, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, so when they're reaching out, and you're at a trade show right now, when they're reaching out, where are they finding their leads, and what do you help your business development people understand so they can actually build better relationships? So leads and relationships is really, and I'm not asking you to give away anything proprietary. I'm just talking about, in general, what should a business do?
Gotcha. So in terms of finding leads, right, there are a lot of things that we do to promote our brands online, on the web, with our website, which is probably the most critical element, and then on some other aggregators and whatnot. So there's a definite need for web presence for the brands. There's also a need for social, right? So I'm older than some who probably listen to this telecast, and I'm becoming more and more aware of how important things like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and you name the platform, but being relevant on those platforms both builds awareness for the brand, gains, knowledge of the brand, but then also drives some leads. So those are two that really are effective. And I'm actually here in Houston, Texas, and I went to school right down the street here at Rice University. So it's good to be back on the old stomping grounds. But here in Houston for a franchise convention. And a lot of times for entrepreneurs looking to diversify, a consultant or some independent resource to really focus you on what's your skill set is, to your earlier point, and finding the brands that sort of match up with that, those can work really well as well.
Yeah. So when I look at marketing, I look at, how do I expand my influence? How do I, build my lists of people that are interested? And the list can be social media lists. How do I generate leads? And how do I get new and repeat sales? In your case, if you sell franchise, then it becomes either a multi-unit owner or a multi-brand owner or a referral to the brand. And the digital footprint is such an essential part. Congratulations. You're on a show right now that's going to franchise brands. So full disclosure for all of our listeners that made it this far into the episode, I'm a franchise keynote speaker that wants to speak at franchise brands. So I'm my outcome is to add value to my listeners, of course, but also to build relationships. So now I'm building relationships with Dwayne. He's going to know who I am. He might be in a committee meeting where they're saying, hey, we're having our annual conference. And he might say, well, I got this guy named Ford. I was on his episode. Yeah. So I use my podcast as a way to build relationships and add value and increase my visibility. Now, the flip side of that coin is Dwayne has joined me from a hotel to do this episode today while he's at a convention, sharing insights on entrepreneurial success, franchise success, and we're able to promote the Belfor brands because he's got 15 different brands. So now when someone's considering which brand they might want to go to, if they see Dwayne on certain podcasts or they see the website, it's the collective reach. So your digital footprint includes your website, your search engine rankings, what shows up in the search engines when someone Googles your name. It includes social media and all the social media websites. It includes business directory listings. And in the franchise world, he made a term called an aggregator. And there are companies in the franchise world that all they do is, it's like the yellow pages. Me and you understand what the yellow pages are, Dwayne. Our listeners probably don't know what that is, right? So the yellow pages used to be a book where you would put your companies in and they'd send it out to everybody. But there's aggregators that put the lists of franchise brands. And then, so you've got, I'm going to start over, your website, search engine ranking, social media, business directories, and then of course, business review websites. Because if a person is considering buying a franchise, they're probably going to Google that franchise brand to see what other customers are saying, to see whether it matches and is a good brand. So you are doing it. You're not too old. I'm old. They would consider me probably old. If it was interesting. I was on the phone with a different client. I run a digital marketing agency, and I had a call before this episode, and we were talking to one of their vendors, and I said, well, who's their ideal client? And the person was about 22 years old. And she said, old people. And I said, can you just give me a definition? And she said, well, like 40 and above. Well, I'm 63 years old, right? So I'm thinking, hey, what the hell? I'm not old. But, I used to run a business for Les Brown, and he used to say, how old would you be if you didn't know how old you were, right? So anyway, a little brain fart on the direction there. I'm going to go back to the next question. So let's talk about local marketing, an area I do a lot of work in, obviously, because the franchise brands have the system, but they want me to come in and help them increase their average transaction, increase the frequency of purchase, increase referral marketing and mindset, and accelerate in the local market. In a world where everybody is shouting for attention, what are some clever, cost-effective ways that you've seen, because, as VP of Franchise Development, but also you work with the franchisees, that can make their brand the talk of the town?
Wow. So it would be a lot around, we use the term mayor, become the mayor of your town, right? And that's really achieved through work within your local community, chambers of commerce type events, working with schools, working with local charities, and everywhere you go, sporting the logo and really giving back to the community that's going to service you well. It's also about finding some influencers, right? Typically in a community, there could be people who are the go-to guys or girls for any one of a number of resources, getting to know them. And then we also want our people and our teams to get to know people in like industries, right? So there's always an opportunity within the Belfor Franchise Group, especially, right? So with our 15 brands, if you can imagine, there's a lot of ability to establish footprint, to establish awareness just by talking with fellow franchisees. And then also being part of the Belfor Group, right? And with their, I think it's 400 offices around the world, they're an additional resource there as well. So for us, it's becoming the mayor, reaching out, taking the time to get to know your constituents, and then pouring in like crazy to the community and the people there.
All right. Well, Dwayne, this has been incredibly insightful. Before we wrap up, what's the one piece of advice that you'd give to someone listening right now who might be on the fence about taking the franchise plunge?
Wow. I wish I could say just do it. But I think the real answer is research, right? So it is an investment. But, in today's world, I see a large trend towards younger and some older as well, really looking more the entrepreneur route, taking control of their time, taking control of their lives, and getting to do the things they really love to do. it's a proven path because there are others who blaze the trail for you too, right? For our ChemDry brand, we have over 1,000 franchisees who've been doing it for over 40 years, right? And so it's being able to step on the shoulders or grow on the shoulders of those who've done it before you, minimizing your risk and providing some tremendous opportunities for not just financial success, right? But for success for you as a person. So
Well,
having been in the industry some 30 years, man, I love changing lives and I love having the opportunity to do it.
hey, we're good. All right, so stick around after the outro, but there you have it, folks, straight from a franchise development pro. Now, remember, success leaves clues, and Dwayne just gave us a whole treasure map, right, of where we could use to do it. Obviously, you need to do your due diligence and do more. So whether you're just starting out or you're looking to level up your existing business, these insights should certainly help you do that. But I want all our listeners to be critical thinkers, open-minded, and coachable. We're not telling you what to do. We're responsible to you and not for you. So thanks for tuning in to Fortify Live, where we're all about accelerating your business growth. Until next time, keep moving, keep growing, and keep fortifying your success.
Thank you for tuning in to Fortify Live. Make sure to like, comment, and share this episode on your favorite social media platform. And don't forget to subscribe to the Business Growth Show podcast, available wherever you get your podcast streaming fix. We air weekly at 11 a.m. Central Time. So until next week, keep pushing the boundaries and never stop growing.